where the Malcolm Messiah choir, popularly known as the Douala Choir of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon of Fako Division, came to Boya Town, PC Boya Town PC Boya Station, I beg your pardon, for their annual come together. You can find how that church story unfolded on page 5 of the Dawn newspaper for this morning. Away from the Dawn, we take you to the next paper, the paper from Indian Division, Cameroon Echoes of William Ziba. Cameroon Echoes for today says at African Women's Awards, Esther Omam wins Woman of Impact exception on peace promotion. We move on to for promoting education through scholarship. Indian youth appreciate decorate Chief Namango Nabili the third. Indian administration scores the Komebalwe Mayor Victor Debare High during project execution project execution for the 2023 Administrative and Stores Management Account Council session of Dikome Balwe. We take you to Informatem for today. Informatem report on the Council of Ayos. It says Paul Ndongo Biko report on the enclave nature of the agricultural basin of the Ayos subdivision. Get to read more on Informatem newspaper from page 5 to 7 on that publication. And for our show for this day talks of Matthias Eric Ewonangini in the political program on one of the sister television station in Yaoundé known as Libre d'Expression. He says Maurice Kamto has never been a militant of the CPTM political party. Get to read more on that publication of Info Show. We remain with Maurice Kamto, who says he is quite ready for the presidential and general elections for 2025 next year. You can find details on page 10 on Info Show. We take you to this other story where this Congress have been announced by Robert Kona, who flung himself as the founding father of the PCRN party. You can find more on that publication on page 2 to 4 on that publication of Info Show. From Info Show, we take you to the next paper of Terry Tiaga, that is Mutation. Mutation report on displacement battle, attention, danger, making reference on the displacement of cows from long distance area and how they parade themselves across major highways all across the nation, as they say it poses as danger on road users who are using the different roads network. Away from that, let's take you to something else this time around with those persistent rates of fentanyl across certain markets in the country, as Terry Ziaga is quite preoccupied on what needs to be done in order for many councils and individuals to make sure that outbreak of fentanyls are being addressed adequately. Moving on to the Far North region, with Lloyd Isahel of Gibe by Tama comes back to the abortive coup d'etat of 1984. He says 6 April 1984, Jean-Pascal Mendam Sari visit the port to get to read details on the abortive coup d'etat of 1984, orchestrated by former President Amadou Ahidjo to topple the then Bia's regime. Logan and Shari division of the Far North region, religious and traditional rulers engage for peace and development. You get to read more. That's a paper for today. And we move on to Yaoundé with the commercial motorbike riders, popularly known locally as Babana, who cries out for discrimination. Vaccination in the Garwa 1 council area. I see some the paper report on some 3,292 persons have been vaccinated against yellow fever in the Garwa 1 council area. Cameroon Tribune newspaper for this morning says Cameroon Tunisia cooperation ties on a good footing. You get to read more on the cooperation ties between Cameroon and Tunisia. And birth registration mayor's pledge total commitment following the This meeting that held in Yaoundé summoned on the behest of the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, George Olanka Obam, with the various mayors of Cameroon on the birth registration process, as birth certificates are actually a Ugandan tax for many to acquire and even to get that done. We move away from Cameroon Tribune to Innovation for this morning. It talks of the Douala Court of First Instance in Bonanjoy. It says the prosecutor Ebako has been sacked. You get to read more on that said paper of Innovation newspaper for today. Marwa Elekam quite preoccupied for the registration of 5 million electors. You can find more on that said paper for today. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, report on a mission to Cameroon has been announced on the 8th of May 2024 for the evaluation of Cameroon fiscal and monetary policy and economic fairness of the country. The actual newspaper report on the banking sector, with the African First Bank, who now have 2,000 billion CFA francs as her capital running for 2024. Vocational training, where the BGFI Bank Cameroon has engaged massively to make sure that students of secondary and high schools are getting the right skills and orientation when it comes to vocational training and the employment market and economic and financial sector of the country. The International Monetary Fund has announced an evaluation visit to Cameroon in the days ahead, as that has been slated for the 8th of May 2024. We move on to Las Labio for today. It talks of coherence returns to the head coach of Cameroon's male football team, Mark Brice. Get to read more on that said publication for today. Conjuncture Economy for this morning says 42.9% of the public investment budget has been affected as public that states towns get to read details on that said publication of Conjuncture Economy. Civil Status Registry, the paper reports on 1.5 million students are without birth certificates in Cameroon. You can find more on that said publication, as the figures were made public by the Director General of the Civil Status Department, known in her French acronym as BUNEC. We move on to the Far North region, where debt of or the revenue collection of the Customs Department surpasses 100.20% within the space of 3 months. You will find details on that publication for today. The Advocate newspaper of Tabetayang and Obika from Limbe says fighting hate speech, a multi-stakeholder approach comes take swift Swiss flight across the bridge. Get to read more on that paper for today. Esther Omam spotlighted again, wins another continental award, and UNHCR UNHCRD and CSOs adopt 6-point action plan. You want to find more on the publication of Tabetayang and Obika for today. Volcanic Times of Charles Mbola from FACO report on the Boya, but they says Baston Leongal Foundation promotes hygiene campaign among girls. You won't find details on that said paper for today. For CBC Christians of Coastal Churches, Danielson Luma Ekema drum support for CBC executive president, and that's a publication Wanya Imale village in Fako, where Jacob Churchill Ekema urges indigenous to push for developmental agenda. Fako is constituency Findi Mokondo takes parliamentary outreach to Moyuka. The Guardian Post of Christian Gal for this day talks of Access Bank Group, Global Bank with African route, Africa's gateway to the world. We want to find more on that bank, Access Bank Cameroon. Digital transformation, the National Social Insurance Fund (NPS) shares experience with startups enterprises from digital overhauls. Upcoming elections, Mabel Boma urges youths to massively enroll on Elecam registration calendar. We move on to something else this time around with the paper, the Nigerian tabloid, we start with this day. This day says Tinubu at WEFC says subsidy removal, forex transform save Nigeria from bankruptcy. And asset paper, Zenith Bank shareholders approve Hawkrow structure. And we move on to the Punch. The Punch for this morning talks of petrol scarcity for crisis worsen as deposit diverts PMS to Abuja. Please launch props as gunmen kill Ajetua's campaign coordinator. We take you to the nation. The nation for this morning says a petrol scarcity spreads to Lagos, Oyo, Ondo, Osun, Edo, others get read more. That's a paper. Electricity crisis. Lagos, Edo, Oyo awaits a next snot and bandits terrorists killed 90 policemen in 1 year. The Guardian for this morning report on forex rates homogenization. It says Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) abandons unification policy, reintroduces discriminatory rates in asset paper, mixed reaction trails UK Rwanda asylum operation. And we move on to gunmen kill Lucky Ayatua's campaign coordinator. The metrics for this day talks on Nigeria's economy. Tinubu Bills Gates meet is set to unveil digital identification platform to ease tax collection, government payment programs. Tinubu identifies technology as potential weapon against corruption. Labour Party poll, PDP sweeps Oyo as APC wins seats in Gombe, and tension as gunmen. Governor Ayetua's campaign coordinator Alaba Excel. And first news for this morning report on petrol subsidy removal necessary to save Nigeria from bankruptcy according to Tinubu. Tragedy, 19 roasted alive in Kogi auto crash and Fino. PDP wins 33 Oyo local government chairmanship seats. APC kicks rejects results. And national economy for this day says 42.97 increase or 97% increase in 1 year. Nigeria resorts to charcoal firewood as cooking gas price spikes further. And that's it. National economy. The paper report on federal government seeks World Bank extension for 100 million US dollars women project. A Daily Independent from Lagos report on Nigeria would have gone bankrupt without subsidy cuts according to Tinubu. Rivers crisis, local government chairman asks courts to order state IGP, that's the inspector of general of police, orders to secure them. And Punch Sport Extra for today reports on deadly as Desires hits 130th club goal in Rangers win. And we move on to Joshua tips Ox to beat Fury, and we take you to this other story why I prefer Polski to Chukwueze. And Arsenal, the Gunners of Arsenal survives Spurs scared to maintain lead on the English Premier League table. And we move on to the next publication for this morning, Nigerian Tribune talks of state expresses concern over naira depreciation. Coastal roads affected, property owners seeks adequate compensation as federal government begins demolition. We will begin payment from Wednesday according to the minister in charge of that ministry. Vanguard for this morning from Abuja report on petrol scarcity will linger 2 more weeks according to Ipman. And Edo gubernatorial elections, why Obi Shaibu Ayacho others gang up against Obaseki. Senate Bank PLC shares approved for transition according to Hercal structure. Sanwo-Olu sacks 425 LWC redundant officials. That is the Lagos State governor international. We move away from the Nigerian tabloid. We come back to Cameroon with the next Cameroonian tabloid, that is the house newspaper for this morning. Quotidian Eco Sante reports on the fight against disinformation. Manauna Malashi of Public Health installed this medical center of the hospital in Douala. You can find more on that said publication for today. The World Health Organization celebrates 50th anniversary of the program of vaccination of PEV, and the fight against diseases intensifies. You want to find more on that set publication of Quotidian Eco Sante for this morning. We take you to the economic markets with Eco News for today. Eco News for today talks of the capital African market opportunities that needs to be seized. You will get to read more on that set publication of Eco News for today. Matiola for today report on increase of chocolate products in the country. You want to find more on that set publication for today. The criminal custom sector, the goods notes across the national triangle as the customs department, as reports getting to us, says is striving quickly following revenue that the state custom department is generating for the past years, and this year in particular. My hospital newspaper for this morning, another health paper, says the Douala 5 Council area, the General Hospital of Douala consults some 2,494 persons or patients. You want to find more on that said paper, and we take you to the Integrated Health Center of Makpa, where precious services have been intensified to the local population. The District Hospital of Dikumeki reports on children who are getting vaccinated without discrimination. You want to find more on that publication for today. Confidential for this morning reports on massive voters registration process on the electoral list of Elecam. The paper reports on reasons for mobilization that is getting scheme all across the national triangle. Indomitable Lions, this is disturbance with Mark Breeze, the head coach of the Indomitable Lions, following the publication of FIFA list of officials and coaches on their register, but quite unfortunate that of Cameroons who didn't feature on that set FIFA list of different sports tacticians in the world. Les Zenet for this morning talks of the goods declaration 18 years. You want to find more on that set paper for today, and making reference to certain ministers in certain cabinet ministers. You want to find details on Lezenet newspaper for this morning. We cross over to Labini newspaper for today talks of Alassane Ouattara in Anaboli, Lukmawa Braga, Tangana, following get to read details on that medal award ceremony that was given to Cameroon Minister of Trade Lukmawa Braga, Tangana by the president of Ivory Coast, Alassane Ouattara. Wrap up this first phase of the program with the last publication of Le Evidemang for today talks of the Sport Cap project that the paper report on the phase of operation that has been enacted by the Minister of Sport and Physical Education, Narcisse Mole Kombi. And we move on to this other story, that report of George Elanga Obam, the procedure for digitalization in the public sector. You want to find more on that said paper from the Minister of Digitalization and Local Development. And remain with sports development. This time around, Cameroon and Australia engages for structural improvement in the sporting milieu. You want to find details on the Vedemang newspaper for today. With the Vedemang newspaper, this is where we'll put a pause on the first part of the program, as we'll be joined by our reviewer for this morning. viewers of High Television and the program Press Brief, you're heartily welcome back to the second phase of the program reserved for our reviewer. Our reviewer for this morning is Lucas J. Good morning to you, Lucas, and you're welcome to the first edition of the week.
Good morning. It's a pleasure.
All right, and you are just returning from an elaborate party, so we won't go into that. But party time is over. We are back to business. We start off with the paper, the Dawn newspaper for today says Southwest heroes make strides in police department and the gendarmerie department of the Northwest region. These are Northwest region. These are two gentlemen from the Southwest region who happens to be. We had two illegal or unauthorized factories in Bamenda that were uncovered by these two bosses of the police and gendarmerie department of the Northwest region.
Yes, I would appreciate these heads of these different units. What I would love to add also on this is the caption of the paper would paint the picture of a people who perhaps condoned to illicit productions and illicit sales of such products. We all know that it is illicit because you did not declare or register duly, and perhaps quality control likewise
Doubtful quality
and so on.
And
so
the hygienic condition, it was quite deplorable.
that's right. So this is the reason why they are often termed illicit, and of course,
And they have the brown and labels of international brands.
Yeah,
Can imagine.
to pick that picture from another angle, to pick the story from another angle, you could see a people who have the quest to come out of poverty, and you also have a people who are extremely wicked, because the doubtful qualities, as we all know, are the basic causes of what we now have today within our communities as health challenges. So this is what you have in your hand. I think in such a situation, the different elements who were involved in the tracking down and bringing to order these persons who have decided to go against the laws of the country, I think one thing we should not leave out should be what was the cause. If you have noticed in Cameroon, if you have noticed in Africa, it is on the rise. It is on the rise. So you may want to ask yourself questions, because to solve that problem, there is another cause. In logic we say, in philosophy we say the principle of causality. What is actually the cause? What are the triggers? What triggered these people to delve into such a criminal activity within the republic?
And it's quite detrimental to human health.
Which is indeed a health hazard. It is so terrible to our own self. So I think you would look at the desire to make money at the expense of the people's life, which I think the units in that area did well. Like I said, if you look at the paper, the caption of the paper will paint a picture that someone who was previously there or someone who was there condoned to it, perhaps for some reasons. Sometimes we also have to observe the words. If you look at the paper,
Sure.
This is the reason why we are there on press review, to look
Sure.
at what the paper said, how could it be placed, if it were to be placed, to make it Southwest heroes. You get the picture. It would appear, because the former head of those areas basically did not come from the Northwest region. Howbeit, capturing it Southwest heroes, I think we should rather look at the military force or the armed forces. We should look at the gendarmes who are involved. We should look at the police who are involved. We should look at the community, because the community likewise did lead these people to this information. The person whistle supposedly is not even mentioned for security reasons. Howbeit, they were only informed because they have the law provides that they should go and bring order in such a situation. The communities likewise could actually denounce, and this is why we have always called on communities to be very vigilant, and to be very vigilant on things like this, because the ripple effect will not exclude the community, people within this particular illicit production of these illicit liquors, which we now have it on the rise. Howbeit, let the newspaper not be the ones to tell us that some other police force, some other gendarme forces within the region wouldn't have done best. Okay. Yes, so to capture it, Sawe's heroes, I think it is not a very good caption.
All right, to move away from that, we take you to the paper of Thierry Diaga Mutation from Douala report on the battle of displacement. It says, attention, danger. We are talking on cattle that have been driven from one locality to another, from one highway to another. As Thierry Diaga says, these cattle moving on being transferred by these herdsmen from, let's say, Douala, Yaoundé, Bafoussam, Bamenda. It's quite dangerous to road users, as Thierry Diaga is calling on Cameroonians to be watchful the way they use the road. So, what do you make of this danger of cars?
It is extremely. I remember the night I went to my WhatsApp status and I said, thank God. I think I said I was involved in an accident along the Tiko Douala highway. I left for my sister down our TV house and I was returning to Boya. Now, this is what happened. It was the heads of cow. The headsmen, apparently they lost control, and at certain point we observed that a truck that was coming behind us wanted to navigate its way away from the crazy cows that were now on the road, and this is how they hit us from behind the car I boarded. So it has caused several accidents on our way. It has led to the death of several persons. A few days ago, the governor of the Littoral region, Journée d'Ivoire, he came out and called on owners of this business to respect the fact that these things should not be. If you go to Douala, the stray on the road during the day, the stray on the road, you get the physics almost everywhere along the road, littered. I think it's like we are now in a jungle. It's like we now live on the hills where cattle are being managed. We are now living in some of the areas where cattle are being reared, which of course we are not. Everyone is not a cattle rearer. I suppose in this case that the authorities that be to ensure that such order should be. There was a time, I think there was an order that the transportation of these cattle should go via trailers. They should carry them in cars. I know they pay taxes, they pay huge amounts to our treasury, they pay a lot of money into the state coffers, which of course it is in turn used to manage the affairs of the country and to run the country. This notwithstanding, this should not erode or take out the fact that they have to manage these things adequately. Like I said, I have been involved in an accident wherein these cattle were the cause, and we have seen several cases where cars had accidents because they had to run into cows, and you know what happened. Persons died because of this. So I think it would be great that this thing should be taken. I think within the different localities where these persons are passing, and you know the problem, let me finish with this. Within the different localities where these things will have to pass across, because when they leave from Douala, they are heading to Kumba, Mamfe, Boya, and other parts. They have to respect, you must have paid your national taxes. You have to respect the different jurisdiction in which you go into. Because if you don't do that, it will be very problematic to us. We see these things daily. Douala, you know, if you go to Douala, you know, it's so terrible. And you see how they litter it sometimes in the standing waters and on the road. Then you start asking yourself questions. So we should go back. They should be transported in the trucks that we had seen. They should be transported in those things. They must not walk on the road.
But in a country where we say one thing and we do the contrary.
Yes, this is a problem in Cameroon, because when we say them, they are quick. There are people who are quick to enforce things that directly benefits them. I call these persons bounty patriots. Yes, and you know, with bounty patriots, I don't blink my eyes on them, because they are the true haters of a country. They are the people who don't want to see the country advance. They are the people who don't want to see us get into 2035 as we ought to. We have only 10 more years to be in that period. So we have to transcend. We need to move away from this position. We need to step off from this current position. We say one thing, we do the other. We have to be the ones to call these people to ensure that there should be checks and balance. Now, I've always said this. In a democracy, only the philosopher kings are the boss. And who are the philosopher kings? We are the electorate, the people who call the shot, those who decide, such as we will be doing coming 2025, to give that vote. We will be the ones to determine who is going to ensure that cows should not walk on our road, be it at night. They have to transport them in a car. They could put themselves in a cluster. Those who are transported to Kumba, to Mamfe, they get themselves in a cluster, pay a truck, transport these cows to that area.
All right, we cue in with elections. This time around with Confidential newspaper. Confidential newspaper for today talks of the massive voters registration that is witnessing all across Cameroon. It says the reason behind this massive voters registration, why our Cameroonians are quite awakening this time around, as they have shunned away from the spirit of voters apathy.
Yes, you know, when I started the campaign, I can vividly remember that in some fora which we are all together, some persons would mock me. They will say the things they have to say. You know, one thing is in the mind of Cameroonians right now is change. And we have tested the different means through which this change could come to Cameroon. We have had public demonstrations. We have had different protests. And the people of Cameroon are now realizing that massive registration and massive voting and massive protection of your vote is the source of change. Therefore, to obtain this change, all you need to do is to move down to wherever Elecam is and register for elections. I think this is basically what Cameroonians want. And I want to further inform Cameroonians that the year coming, 2025, we have 3 major elections. And they are the elections that makes the decision and the welfare of the people. And these elections, especially the October 9th election, which is preceded by the February elections, talking about the twin elections, which we often refer to, the municipal and the legislative elections, where municipal councillors are determined, the mayor will be determined, and the members of parliament. And don't forget that it is the parliament that enacts or that votes the laws, and they will send it further. Therefore, the first house that will receive whatever bill that will come from the government of Cameroon, whatever bill that will come from private member within the parliament, they are certainly going to understand that 2025 is something else. And I love the caption of the paper.
Yeah.
Why are Cameroonians now realizing
massively involved?
Why are they massively involved in the registration of elections? It is because Cameroonians have realized that over the past years, the political apathy which birthed the voter apathy has been very damaging. It has been very terrible on the people. And the only way you could avert this is for you to pick up your own self, go and register, and then wait for these persons who think they can dig. And there is one thing I want to say. Those who always allege that people will stuff the ballot boxes, the old people residing in Yaoundé, the octogenarians are not the ones. The gerontocracy that we are currently into, they are not the architect. I know you don't know this, and don't be surprised. There are people like you and I, young people like you and I, actively very agile. We are the ones to carry these ballot boxes to the different locations. That is, if it happens, these are the people who will do it. So, because you have decided that these hoodlums, these thugs who would perpetuate this, will not do it in 2025. This is the reason why you are registering. This is the reason why you are now involved. And let me tell you, on that day, you saw what happened in Senegal. Immediately after their vote, they went to the street. I'm not calling you to go to the street, but do you know why they went to the street? They knew that they had won, and they began celebration.
And that was after, during the collation of results.
Yes, immediately.
And the numbers began.
The numbers from the respective polling stations, it suffice. The moment you have this result collated, you have this result from your respective polling stations, I tell you, my fellow young person, don't leave. Stay on the area where you voted. Start celebrating there. Then tell me if the gerontocracy will continue, because the persons you see hijacking the future, causing some of you to take to the Mediterranean, causing some of you to take to the Bahamas because you want to get to the US, causing some of us to go into illegal production of liquors that are dangerous to ourselves, causing some of us to add to the total number we observed, struggling to pick up a number to rush to the bank to pay for an exam because we want to travel to Canada, which is still a probability. See, fellow young person, the 2025 that we all know, I'm happy that you are heeding to the call that some of us have made, and this is the reason why we will not stop. And I keep saying, political education is the next phase we want to take. After this first step, which is you registering, the next step will be a political. You start getting political education from us. How you need to go, what is required, who you're supposed to meet, how you can make your choice. You know, for now you don't know. I'm not a member of any political party, that you know. I'm only telling you that when the time comes, when you must have had the right political education, then you can now decide.
All
so
right.
I love the caption of the papers.
Okay.
I love it.
All right, we move away from voters registration this time around with a typical issue that is plaguing most Cameroonian youths with La Voix du Jeune. La Voix du Jeune newspaper, the youth-oriented newspaper for today, talks of immigration. 97% of young persons in Cameroon want to leave the country.
That's right.
Yeah, that was a special report done by La Voix du Jeune.
Of course, they do.
97%.
Alarming.
This I can say, I saw it some days back on the campus of the University of Buea, where thousands of Cameroonians were knocking just to get a ticket or a list.
They vandalized the building because they wanted to obtain a number that will give them pass to go to the bank and make payment for the I think they call it TCF, or they call it yes test
proficiency,
I think something. Basically, it is a proficiency for those who say we cannot speak French. Yes.
Yeah. And just to go to Canada.
Yes.
So 97% of young people in the nation, Cameroon, want to leave the place.
Now, the 97% is
quite alarming.
Yes, it is the total percentage of the youthful percent, or the youth percent in Cameroon. That is, if you remove the youth percentage based on the demography, 97% of these people are immigrating. They are on transit. As a matter of fact, a young man told me, I'm on transit in Cameroon. I know he's a Cameroonian. Then I asked, bro, did you come from maybe Cotonou or Ethiopia and you are now on transit? He said, no, I'm on transit. He said, from the day I realized the difficulties in this country, I boarded a flight. So right now I'm on transit to my country of choice. My country of choice. Then I was like, come on.
I have a friend too. He is fond of. Okay, when I say what's happened, he say I'm on transit.
Okay.
And I will laugh over it. Say this is not a laughing matter.
Okay.
Say because I cannot continue to be living in a country where prices of stuffs keeps on soaring, and the old people who are supposed to be on retirement, they're holding their power lovers, power grippers, and say there's no youth, there's no future for the youthful population. So the best thing for me is to leave the country, as he always say, I'm on transit.
He was not quite wrong, okay? And I said this in one of my focus group discussions with some young people. I told them it is your right, your universally declared right to immigrate. It is a reason why the country that will receive you as you move through the legitimate means, they have a responsibility to protect you, because it is your right. So they have an obligation to ensure that when you get in, you should be treated fairly. So this 97% of Cameroonian young people or Cameroonian youth or Cameroon youth who says they're on transit, we can't blame them, because the factors that would cause a child not to go out of the house are so much lacking in the social setup of the country. You have high crime rate, and because someone told me I wouldn't want to go into illegal sales or sales of illegal goods in the country, so it is better for me to immigrate so I could have a job in that country which is permitted, because I think my own values does not permit me to do the things which my own country is pushing me to do. So I asked, I said, but isn't there another option? Interestingly, this was a friend from the east.
Okay.
Yes, he was a friend from the east. Then he said, no, mon frère, let's malo chose là. J'ai décidé.
Que je vais quitter le pays.
No, je vais quitter le pays ici. And I said, well, it's your right, bro. All I can tell you is be careful not to go through the Bahamas, not to go through the Atlantic Ocean, not to go through the Sahara Desert. If you have to do it the right way. And then he told me, c'est pour ça que je suis ici pour obtenir, pour prendre ou faire quoi, pour le test des TCF. Then I said, okay, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
You should do it the right way. So this is something of a parent who lives in the house with his children, and the children decides to move to the neighbor's house where they now find comfort. A parent who is wise, a parent who is caring, a parent who understands his responsibilities and obligations would sit back and ask himself, could it be the way I talk to my kids? Could it be the way I provide for them? Could it be the way my wife and I would treat our own children? Could it be that my neighbor is enticing my children, or my neighbor indeed have something better? But the remittances are very obvious that out there is better. If you look at most of the houses in almost all the towns and cities, except for those who have stolen money in this country, except for bounty patriots in this country, the rest, majority of it is remittance.
Okay.
And the remittance, you see how a lot of their family members are now, because we have almost every household today in Cameroon have someone abroad, and you have remittance which is trooping in, and you see the difference on the people. So it is time. It is time. I have this appeal for this 97% of these young people. I am going through the same thing with you. I know some of you will say it's because maybe you have something and you have something you're doing, and you think it's not the way it is. Please, you can still register for elections. If you succeed to go to that country where we have an embassy, before elections, Elecam is represented at the different embassies and consulates. All our consular services have Elecam. You can go there to change your location to vote. In a nutshell, vote where you will find Cameroonians during Cameroon elections.
Okay, we move away from the Youth Affairs newspaper to the Women Affairs newspaper with Ladies News. Ladies News for this morning talks of the victory of Victoria United that was graced by the presence of Madam the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonga, who came to celebrate with the One Man, One Power Opopo boys of the good old Victoria.
Yes, the Minister of Secondary Education, I can remember, is also a sport fan. What I can vividly remember before looking at the Opopo situation or the Opopo's victory is the last FENASCO.
That it was held in Mukunda Gale.
In Limbe.
Yeah.
She was actively involved. She is someone who loves sport. And being an elite from the same area, she wants to be an illustrious daughter of the area. And to do this, all you need to do is to celebrate with them. I remember when Opopo were about leaving Yaoundé, they went to the Prime Ministry, they went to the Minister of Secondary Education and the rest. And they came down to the South and they went to the governor's office. This is because Nalova Lyonga, who is the Minister of Secondary Education, love sports likewise. I would want to add to the victory Opopo now have that let Madam the Minister take this from me, please. We want to see Opopo female football team. Please, we want to see Opopo.
I think that should be for the club board or president or...
no, you don't get it.
To be
No, you don't get it. She's a hardcore supporter
Okay.
of sport, and she loves the club. It's her club, right? So it is an appeal to her.
Okay,
As a supporter, take note that the fans call the shot.
definitely.
We are the fan. Have you ever seen when... No, we are the fans, right?
I hear you.
If you remove us, where will you place the club?
That's it.
The club will not exist. So the fans will actually make this. So if you were to go back to what I said, Madam the Minister is an influential person. She may want to consider this, and why not propose it to Opopo when next they are meeting her, that we want to also see a female of Opopo female football club.
All right. We'll move away.
It should not be the fact only.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll move away from that women's affairs newspaper of Ladies News. We crossed over to Enfoa Show. Enfoa Show report of Matthias Eric Owonongini, who happens to be the son of late former Secretary General of the Presidency Joseph Owona, during a debate program in one of the sister television channel. The program titled Libre Expression, who says Maurice Kamto has never been a militant of the CPDM party, as though he was a minister delegate at the Ministry of Justice, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yes.
But he has never been a militant.
Yes. This is quite surprising to many people. You can't be a member of the Cameroon civil society without you understanding the way. No, you can't. I took out time, met some big officials or some men within the CRM party or the political party, and they explained to me a couple of things. I was thrilled likewise. And the son of Joseph Owona is not out of place.
Okay.
What is pretty surprising to many is Maurice Kamto got the contract as a lawyer, and he was the lead person with regards to the case Cameroon had with Nigeria regarding Bakassi. So it was as a result of his prowess in legalities and the rest. This is how he got the job. It was some kind of an honor. Yes. And the last time I also discussed with this same person, he said the man never owned a militant card of the party. Yes. So this is where the government of Paul members of their party exclusively.
Chiruma is there.
They will always refer to Chiruma. They will always refer to the god of Momo. Bobabelo Magari. You have Jean Didier Momo.
Of course, Padek.
Padek. Good. So you get it. So Maurice Kamto was never. He was never.
All right. To move away from that story to Nzian Division, where one of Nzian Division's daughters, that is Esther Omam, that is Cameroon Echoes, of course. Cameroon Echoes of William Dibaitwe says at African Women's Award, Esther Omam wins Woman of Impact Exception on Peace Promotion.
Yes, it is acronym as AWA.
Okay.
Yes, AWA. So she is the AWA of the year.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes, and she has a lot that she has done, and all she could do is to keep receiving this award. I think recently we have noticed that Madam Esther Omam is someone who is into receiving awards.
Yeah.
And people can only be rewarded when they must have done something good.
As the Bible says, only remember by what we have done.
Exactly. Exactly. That's right. So at the end of the day, this is where Esther Omam is. She's doing a lot. She will take care. She'll fight for the people. She too is a fierce human rights defender, and she is quite vocal on several fronts. And I think she's doing quite well with the activities she's currently carrying.
All right, we move on to Info Matin for this morning. A report on the Ayo subdivision. Paul Ndongo Biko, who is a political actor in the country, reports on the enclaveness of one of those basin of agriculture, precisely from the south region, that has been enclave. As to have access to road to market, farm to market road is a big problem. Talk less of connect roads connecting the said locality to the rest of the other parts of that locality in Ayos subdivision.
Yes, in Ayos, I've been around
problem,
that area.
The problem of access to road.
Yes, this is what I have to say. Someone is certainly very surprised hearing that this is the region of the head of state. It's a region without farm to market road. And you want to ask yourself questions. When we say people should go to the farm, we say agriculture is that which is holding our economy. And you don't provide road. How do they bring their produce to the market? How do they make their cash? You see, this is where, when I see some of these persons flaunting left and right, here and there, squandering and embezzling state funds, and they have this degree of wickedness in them, where their own backyard, they have the worst record with regards to their backyard. To imagine that this should be happening in Ayos, I find this the first class and first degree in wickedness. This is first degree wickedness. Because we know how much people within these areas would work. But their foodstuffs, they'll always end at the foot of their farms. Because they cannot bring them to the house and they cannot take them onwards to the market. So there are no farm to market roads in those areas. And you find people who will die every day because they could not eat in Cameroon. You find people who do not have the least that will get rot in the bush in Ayons because they don't have roads. But they have ministers. It's an area with over 38 ministers. If you go by the total number of ministers this country have, that's an area with the majority of ministers.
I think we are having 62 or 63.
They have over 38 in the total number of ministers.
I need to work on that.
Go back, check that. Go check it again.
All right, I'll work on
Yet they don't have farm to market roads. From the Minister of Higher Education, who is from the same region. What am I saying? From the president, from the Secretary General at the presidency,
the General Manager of Douala Port Authority,
from the General Manager of the Douala Port Authority, from the Minister of Transport. What are you talking about?
Minister of Transport, he is from the electoral.
No.
Sorry, the gentleman. He's from the Senegal Maritime.
The former Minister of Transport.
Okay, even the former Minister of Finance, Polycarp Baba.
These are people from that area.
And the gentleman of FECOM, who too has been incarcerated.
Now, if you look at these people, you will see how a people are wicked. There was a photo some time ago on social media where inhabitants of that area blocked a certain convoy that were going in for campaign. They told them that you will not come in here. They cut the trees and block the road.
Yeah, we saw
that we don't have the road, and you're coming to do what? To tell us what?
And it took Professor Jack Ndongo
to a hurt. They brought him to a hurt in the night in a bush lamb to convince the people.
It's quite funny.
Please. It sounds very funny, but it's disheartening. And please, youth of Ayos, go to Elekam.
Okay.
Tell these people, when they come giving you the bread, the gari, the rice, the cubes of Maggi, the fishes, please reject them this time around. Refuse that 200,000 and even that 1 million. You know why? If you take that 1 million, it will not give you road.
All right.
When they tar the road, you know what will happen? It is often said that where there is a road,
development follows.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
They will not give you that money to develop your area. So don't take it because you think you now have a certain 1 million. Tell your traditional rulers, who are sometimes very myopic, not to even dare that this time around.
Okay.
Start with your municipality and you have the right MP.
All right, Lucas, we are packing our bags out of the studio, but we cannot go without talking this story from The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper for this morning says mixed reactions trailed UK Rwanda asylum operation. This is your good friend, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who says asylum seekers who wants to enter into the UK will be taken from the UK to the East African nation of Rwanda.
That's right. This was actually, this was a decision that came up from Sunak's table. I think Boris started this.
Okay.
Yes, Boris started this, and Sunak came up, and it continued, and finally they made it possible, as per their understanding, that persons coming into the UK in small boats, especially the UK waters, in small boats, the moment you arrive, they'll pick you, they'll take you to Rwanda. But it is actually acting ultravirus to a universal right, which the United Kingdom is at the center of this, wherein the people have the right to seek asylum where they want to seek asylum, not you forcing them. You should listen to their claims, and you can now decide, listen to what they have to say, you can now decide if they merit it to be in the UK or not. So I was so disappointed when I learned that Paul Kagame could support such, because he is being egoistic. He thinks that the one-man show he put up in Rwanda is going to make the situation better. Should the people come, the remittance that will come in, the amount of people that will come, the development that he thinks will come into Rwanda, he accepted amongst every other country that Rwanda should be the recipient country of this person seeking asylum. I was so shocked when I heard this. But I'm happy because the lawmakers in the UK have not yet agreed. So nobody, I think this should be the third year or so, but nobody has been sent to Rwanda yet. Despite this, nobody has been sent to Rwanda yet.
Still in the pipeline.
Talks are still ongoing, because I think the House of Lords also did not find it quite comfortable. So the mixed reactions and the mixed feeling is because the British people say, no, we can't take this. We know, for example, I want to speak to the Brits. For example, if you look at Rwanda today, we see the war between Rwanda and Congo, which is ongoing. It's a Cold War. Congo is accusing Rwanda of being the main machinery to the M23 rebel group, which is actually wreaking havoc on the people.
Okay.
And Kagame claims that he is not part of it. But we know Kagame, if you go by his history, if you go by his biography, which I studied it, I know it. Kagame is at the center of what is happening in the DRC, because he is milking that area, selling it to the West to get support and to get his ammunition to fight these people, to develop his country. So he is indeed the Robin Hood. But we cannot support the Robin Hood in Africa, because we are doing our best to unite Africa.
Okay.
So Kagame accepting that person seeking asylum. So it will mean that if you leave Kuwait, for example, and you go to the UK, they'll take you from the UK to send you to Rwanda. I don't know what Kagame is trying to create, but I am glad that the mixed feelings are rising up and there is no way out with regards to it. Like I said, it's been years right now since this came up, but nobody has been sent to Rwanda yet. No one has chartered a flight. There's no chartered flight yet of persons who left Britain to Rwanda.
All right, that was much you could take on this first edition of the week. Thanks immensely for you watching and for your contributions that are still coming up on various social media handles. And Lucas, thanks so much for being.
It's a pleasure. Over the week, I'm sure. Please, over the week, you know what happened. Some persons mount a barricade on the Bulu Bridge. Yes, and one young man within my quarter is alleged that he was amongst those who mount this barricade, and they will have to.
What was the reason?
Armed bandits. And so terrible. I think two were lynched by the angry mob within that particular area, and it's quite sad. He was buried yesterday within my.
But what would prompt a Anyways, people
Yes,
have their choices.
they have several reasons, but the fact is, once you go against the law, two persons, two wrongs will not make a right.
Of
Those
course.
who lynched him also, under normal circumstances within the law of
But
Cameroon,
they also have gotten to the forces of law.
the allegation, these persons were basically suspect. I'm not defending anybody. I'm speaking out of respect to our law.
Okay.
Yeah. They should, though they claim that severally they had handed such persons to the police, who are also sometimes very dirty and corrupt, yet they will always see them back within their
Within
communities.
few weeks or few
yes.
days.
So my usual appeal: please register for election. It's,
All right.
it's my lifestyle. Register.
Voters registration is
Yes.
something that's
Register.
vital, and we urge you all to, because in the days ahead, I will be going to Ellen Council.
Beautiful. A young man was just writing to me while on set that,
Alright.
are we going to register? And then I told him, yes, we're going to register.
Alright.
You register for election.
Thanks for coming, and viewers, thanks for watching. Goodbye, and do have a blessed day in the company of High Television, as more interesting programs are coming your way. Until we come your way tomorrow, exactly 9 a.m. GMT+1 Cameroon time. Bye bye.